characters that we will take inspiration from for our plot are: from Nightmare on Elm Street, the characters will be teenagers. This gives them a sense of vulnerability, and also our target audience will probably be teenagers. So this will make the film more relatable to them, so they're more likely to go and see it, which is the whole point of a trailer. And also, this film is full of supernatural, unnatural elements, and our film will have that in as well. From Halloween, in quite a few parts of the film, the masked man comes up and kills the victims from behind, and our man will always put the mask on from behind onto his victims as well. From the Friday the 13th film, but the 2009 version, the film begins with teenagers in a cabin on holiday, on like a small getaway, and that's the start of our story as well. And from Scream, the mask wearing is a key part of our film, and that's kind of quite symbolic in that. For mise-en-scène, for the character's overall appearance, the mask that the killer is going to wear is going to be white, because that gives a sense of innocence and purity, but then you have the contrast of obviously he's killing people, and it makes him more evil, so that's kind of a contradiction which makes the audience think. And the mask in Scream is white, so that's kind of a link there. And there is a scene in Nightmare on Elm Street where there is a girl in a white nightdress who is covered in blood, and that white nightdress gives the same sense, like the purity and the innocence, which makes you feel like they're a more vulnerable character, which is more scary. Also in Nightmare on Elm Street, the characters are fairly natural, like they're not caked in makeup, and this again makes them look more innocent and creates fear as they are more vulnerable. Also, there is the male character is Johnny, played by Johnny Depp, and because he's good looking, this will draw more people into the film, especially a female audience, which may necessarily not be the prime target audience for horror films. And obviously we can't have Johnny Depp, but if ours was a Hollywood film, we would have a famous, well-known, good-looking actor. For the lighting, in Halloween there are very dark shots which give a sense of the unknown, which quite a common fear is the dark and the unknown, and so I think that makes people feel a bit more anxious when watching trailers. Also in Friday the 13th, shadows are created. There's a shadow behind one of the victims of an axe, so you know what's coming to her, and the fact that the audience know more than the character gives them a sense of power, which kind of almost makes them feel responsible for what is happening to the victims, which again adds another sense of fear and emotion to the trailer and makes you want to go and watch the film. For camera shots, in Halloween they use quite a few point of view shots, which I think is a key feature in their camera work, and I think it would look really good in ours as well, because in theirs they use, right at the start of the trailer, there's you can see someone looking for a mask, and a key item in our film is a mask, and so that will tie in really nicely, and I think given that different perspective of the actual scary thing in the film and the villain, makes the audience feel a sense of power, but you can see the victims being stalked, you can see them being chased, and so that makes you feel even more scared for them, and it just adds another sense of fear, which obviously is what you want in a horror trailer and film. And also in Friday the 13th, not in the original version, which is kind of more supernatural and unnatural, so that's one of the three I studied, but in the 2009 version there's lots of establishing shots right at the start, which really set the scene. And I think that will be good because right at the start of mine I want to kind of create a false sense of security, and so that helps do that. For sound, there's a voiceover used in Nightmare on Elm Street and Halloween, and I think this is just because it helps get more information across, and also it can add kind of another sense of tension and fear, like if you know if it's kind of a tale that someone's telling someone, it might be even more scary as it's remembered for like generations to come, that kind of thing. And also another sound feature is that there is dramatic music, not just in the 3 kind of films that I've studied for our subgenre, but in all horror films there's really dramatic music which builds the tension and the pace. For the location, there is a summer house and a forest for 2 out of the 13 murders in Friday the 13th. And I think they kind of work well together, that sense of isolation, not being near police stations, not being near your neighbours and people you know, that kind of in the forest on your own, which obviously is very nice if it's actually a nice forest and a nice summer house, but it never is in horror films, so that's going to be something that we put into ours. And also in Halloween, there's a scene where someone enters the house from outside, and I think anybody entering your house is a really big fear. For a lot of the would be a fear for a lot of the audience, and so it adds another sense of fear because it kind of shows that no one's really safe, even in a place you would see as the safest place to be. And this also kind of you could link to Scream. For other intertextual references, although this is a horror film, it's not part of our subgenre just purely because it doesn't have any kind of supernatural elements. But in Chainsaw Massacre, and then also in Friday the 13th, the 2009 version, it starts with scenes of teenagers in a car going on a road trip. They seem very happy, relaxed, and this lulls them into a false sense of security, lulls the audience into a false sense of security, and the characters.